Hey, welcome everybody. It's Wednesday morning, another edition of Come On Ref. Hey, look, it's Chad Bryan. I'm your host. I've got Aidan Vance as always, and I'm really excited to. We've got a brand new co-host, Ben Bales. Ben, how you doing, man?
Good.
Good, man. Aidan, say what's up to the people.
What's good, everybody? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. What's up, people? Hey, we got a good show for you today. I think we always have a good show, but today's going to be a good one, man. We got the Cavs playoff push. I mean, they're getting ready to start. They're going to play the Knicks. We're going to talk about that. We've got some changes in the NBA. We're going to go over. I think we're going to just kind of pick who our finals matchup is going to be. We'll take a look at that. We've got some college football stuff to get to, and obviously going to talk about baseball. We have our 1/16 ish season report. It's never too early to start projecting things in baseball. Right? It's never too early. I don't know. Is it too early to start? We start in spring training, don't we?
I mean,
Yeah.
you guys do.
That's fine. Well, hey, look, let's get to the main point first, right? The NBA regular season completely in the books. It's done. We know playoff matchups for the most part. Obviously, the play-in tournament's still going on, and a couple games last night, a couple more games to go. But for our intents and purposes here, we want to talk about the Cavs. They're going to take on the Knicks. The Cavs are in the 4 seed. We talked about it, 50 wins. Wrapped up the 4 seed. We've been saying it for weeks that we figured that's where they'd end up. Now they'll take on the Knicks. Home court advantage, obviously a good thing for a young team, I think. What do you guys think about this series?
It's an interesting series, just based off Jalen Brunson being the guy who kind of ruined Utah's season last year when Donovan and him played. I mean, he kind of gave Donovan the business last year.
Yeah.
And you got to think about Julius coming off a high ankle sprain. Obviously, he's been their leading scorer this year, double guy pretty much every night. So you got to think about that. If he comes back, is he himself? Is he not? That makes it hard. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The Knicks had our number this year. We're 1-3 against them in the year. I know Brunson had two of his worst games against Isaac Okoro on the season.
Yeah.
Isaac Okoro didn't play in his game where he obviously exploded against us, but Jared Allen has a tough time against Mitchell Robinson on the offensive glass. His physicality and size and athleticism bothers him. So we'll see what happens, but I'm still confident in the Cavs.
Yeah. A lot of things that really worry me going into the series. And I think you brought up really one of the main points is what Brunson did to Donovan Mitchell last year. I mean, and by the way, when they won that series, they didn't have Luka for half that series.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, I don't know if you saw it after the game 1 loss at home. Brunson went for 41 points, 8 rebounds, I think 2 steals, shot 6 of 10 from the 3-point line in that game too last year. So it worries me a little bit. I mean, he's got a hand sprain that he's been dealing with, but it's his right hand. He's a lefty. I don't think that's going to slow him down, unfortunately. Not that you ever want anyone to be injured. I don't mean to put it out like that. But yeah, I mean, you look at Brunson. I mean, if he has a game 1 like that this year, all of a sudden the Cavs are down 1-0, and with a young team, it feels like an enormous hole to crawl out of. I mean, Ben, what do you think, man? Should we be worried about that as Cavs fans?
I don't think you should be worried. I mean, like you said, I think what's going to hurt us the most is, like you said, the young team, the inexperience of the playoffs. Because, like, really, the only guy that's made the playoffs on a team is, Donovan Mitchell. The only guy Danny Green's made it, but is he really going to play a big factor in the series?
Yeah, different era, it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, and Donovan Mitchell hasn't, he hasn't made it far in the playoffs in his career. So it's like, he doesn't know he hasn't experienced, like a second round match. So I feel like I said, the Cavs could lose in the first round if, like you said, if the Knicks steal game 1, the Cavs could lose the series. But I think we ultimately end up winning. It just all depends on, like how Mitchell plays and how the rest of the team plays.
Yeah, for sure. Young team, you never know what you're going to get. Like I said, home court advantage helps. But that being said, let's get to it, man. The Come On Ref official series predictions: Cavs, Knicks, first round playoffs. I'm going to start with Aiden's pick. Aiden, what do you got?
All right. I got the Cavs in 5s, and I'll give you some reasons why.
Okay.
Donovan Mitchell, big time playoff performer. He's been to the second round of the playoffs multiple times in his career. Starting from his rookie year, he beat the OKC Thunder in the first round.
Yeah.
2 years before when they were the 1 seed prior to last year, he went to the second round and took the Clippers, I believe, to 6 or 7. He's had not deep playoff runs, but he's gotten into game 6s and game 7s and
Yeah.
in the second round series, and he's had big playoff games. And you talked about how Brunson can go off.
Yeah.
Well, so can Donovan Mitchell, and then so can Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley can also go off.
Mhm.
So, and you got a guy like Harris LeVert off the bench who is kind of a microwave. If he gets going, you could be in trouble. So, I think defensively, if Isaac is healthy and on Brunson, we have a good chance to beat them in every game. I think we have more firepower than they do. They're a solid team, but we should have the advantage here. It pretty much comes down to our guards, with Garland and Mitchell kind of leading the dance, so to speak. But defense wins in the playoffs. We have the best defense in the NBA.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I mean, that says something, right?
And we have the best player in the series.
I agree. I think I agree. Ben, you're up. What's your pick, man?
I took Cavs in 6.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, I think we ultimately win the series. I just think that I think the Knicks steal one in Cleveland and we steal one in New York, and we ultimately end up winning the series.
Yeah.
Kind of like Aidan said, though, Donovan Mitchell, he has a chance to explode whenever he wants to. He can give you 40, 50 a night. Garland can give you 30 if you need him to.
Yep.
Like, and kind of like he said, it's all just going to come down to how well our defense can play. If they can contain Brunson, if Randall plays and plays well, if you can contain him, and if you can just get Jared Allen, to just body up and try and do as much as he can to stop Mitchell Robinson on the offensive glass.
Yeah.
I think that's all it's going to come down to is good defense. And I mean, like we've seen before, like defense does win you championships. Like that block in Game 7 by LeBron. Like if you have good defense, you're going to win games. So
yeah. And it's funny because the two, you mentioned that the championship. I mean, the two teams that played, obviously, Cavs and Warriors were offensive juggernauts, but we look back and we remember 2 defensive plays from that series. I think mostly, which is pretty cool, I guess. So you got Cavs in 6. You know what? I'm going to do the same thing. I've got the Cavs in 6, mostly because I think, like Aidan said, I think we have the most fire. I think the Cavs have the most firepower in the series. I don't know. The high ankle sprain for Randall worries me a little bit. I think his mobility could be, in question just a little bit. That's going to make him a little less effective. But I think the Cavs are the better team. Mostly I just went with Cavs in 6 because Ben did, and he actually had the guts to wear a Steelers hat on this show. So that's the reason for my pick, but we'll see what happens. A couple of fun facts about the series before we move on, actually. We've talked about it before. It's the Cavs' first time in the playoffs without LeBron since the 1998 season. And the Knicks, man, they've only won 1 playoff series since 2000. You realize that? Man. Last time they won a series without home court advantage was actually 2000 against the Heat in the conference semifinals. And in the Eastern Conference, semifinals, by the way. And they'd go on to lose to the Pacers that year. Remember the Pacers had Rick Smits, the dunking Dutchman? I don't know if you guys remember him or not.
Went to the finals that year.
Reggie Miller and Jalen Rose. Yeah, they were tough, man. They were real tough.
Lost to the Lakers.
Lost to the Lakers. Yeah. The also pre-LeBron Lakers, right?
That was the Shaq-led Kobe second fiddle Lakers.
That was a squad.
That was a squad.
We're on the NBA. I want to stay right here for a minute. The NBA is possibly looking at making some changes. I mean, it seems like they're really close. I think these things are happening. I just, the details maybe haven't been ironed out yet. But they're talking about an in-season tournament, like adding that. Is this thing going to work or no? Aidan, what do you think?
It depends. It depends what teams are getting out of it, what players are getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It works in other leagues, like, it works on what you do.
Yeah.
It just depends. It all depends. Obviously the soccer leagues have in-season tournaments and stuff like that, but it's just hard. With some of these guys like LeBron and stuff, you're just not gonna get those guys, I feel like, to come out because LeBron's saving his body. He's worried about the playoffs, the real playoffs, to try to win a championship or something. So we'll see what happens, but it all depends.
Yeah. I think it can work. I think, like you said, I think there has to be a relative incentive, right? Like you've got to give teams, players a reason to kind of sacrifice their body for this thing. I think the format is going to make a difference too. I mean, I've looked into it. It's not like we're going to halt the season and just have this giant tournament and then move on from there. They're going to kind of use the regular season for some of the, the wild card matchups. It looks like. I mean, like I said, some of those details haven't quite been ironed out. Ben, you in favor of this thing or not?
Kind of like Aidan said, like a bunch of the soccer leagues, have them, and will it work or not? Like you said, it's all incentive based. Like what incentives, how it benefits the players, and like with all the soccer ones, it's a lot of those players, get more incentives on their contract. Like if they win the the Champions League or the in-season tournament, so you might see more players getting more contracts to say like if you win the in-season tournament, you get a bonus, $1 million or something like that. So it might encourage players to play in it because they get an incentive if they win it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to be the same thing. If a player gets hurt, they're going to be like, oh, it cost them the season. Cost our playoff chances. So it could go either way.
Well, you see the same thing with the World Baseball Classic. I mean, it's the same argument. It's like, oh, you can't do anything outside your team, right? Yeah, I get it.
Personally, I think it is going to benefit the NBA because what are all professional sporting leagues about? Money.
Yeah.
The more games you have, the more viewers, the more money.
Yeah.
So it's like then you can pay the players more. So like I said, I think that's where the whole incentive base is like, you win, we'll give you an extra, 100 or $1 million or something like that.
Yeah, I think they're actually looking at about $500,000 for the incentive from what I read. And I think it's just maybe, and I think we talked about it maybe off the show. We talked about it just in meetings or whatever. I think maybe you give the conference of the winning team home court advantage all throughout the playoffs and in the finals. Yeah. Obviously, in the finals,
but then that gets hard because that makes the regular season pointless. Why try for seeding if you don't win the in-season tournament? So then you don't have home court advantage in the finals. It doesn't matter to you.
There's that too. I mean, there is that too. There's obviously the other side of those arguments. I think they're going to have to, obviously both sides are going to have to sit down and iron some things out, and they'll have to come to an agreement on it. But one thing I think I do like is the minimum game requirement for any award winners. I think the 65 game requirement is, I like that. I think it kind of helps to alleviate a little bit of load management, which I'm not necessarily against. But it's nice to see the superstars play most of the season, right?
Yeah, people clown on LeBron, for only playing 60 games a year, but it's like if he was out there playing all 82 games a year, he probably would have retired 3-4 years ago. Yeah. Like the reason why he's been able to is because he's really gotten hurt throughout his career, except minus these last couple of years. But he's only playing 60 games a year. He's only played 82 games in his career like once or twice, I think.
Right.
And like that's why he's been able to stay. That's why he's been able to play for so long because he's able to preserve his body and not play as many games. He doesn't need to play the key games that he doesn't need to.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. I mean, like I said, I'm not necessarily against the load management. I just, it's also, again, I think there's a valid side to both arguments. Aidan, where are you at on this one?
I like it. I think it helps younger players not get into because I know LeBron wasn't playing 82 when he was younger, but it was 77, 78. So
it's not
might as well have been. Yeah.
And then 4 games a year after seeding's already done and stuff, right? Like that, right? So I'm not going to take this night off because got a little bump or bruise or something. I'm trying to be all NBA for my contract, or I'm trying to, get this MVP. I'm in the race for it, so I need to play at least 65. I like that. That's going to keep players in games. But we'll see what happens.
Again, it could be more incentive based too, because like you said, a lot of players, have incentives, for all NBA teams and stuff like that, and a lot of times, they'll play just the enough amount of games to, get their incentive, for all NBA, and a lot of times, it's only 50 games. So now they have to play 65 to get all NBA. So you could see a lot of those incentive contracts, for getting all NBA, all conference. You could either see those gone, or you could see more players, like you said, to start players playing more games because they want that money.
Yeah. I think we've said it before. I think the NBA is maybe the best run professional sports organization.
I would agree.
I mean, if you're looking at these two things, the minimum game requirement, brilliant way of telling your superstars, hey, let's come to work, right? Let's get out here. No more days off. Let's get out here and let's be here for the people. And then the in-season tournament, like you said, it's all about money, extra games, betting. What a brilliant way to not just say, hey, we're going to go from 82 to 88 games now in the season where we're going to make a change because we want more money. But it's like this, they kind of created this buzz and this excitement around it.
Pretty sure it's going to be the same number of games. Just they're just going to add a tournament and like the same number of regular season games.
Right. That's what I mean. But you obviously have, you have like more buzz and more excitement, and you just see like they feel different, right? I guess it's not a different amount, but they feel different. And it's like you've added games without adding games, I guess is my point. It's just brilliant. Like I think it's brilliant stuff from the NBA. Meanwhile, you've got Major League Baseball. The bases are bigger now.
And a pitch clock. I didn't know there was a shot clock in baseball.
It's ridiculous, man. Wait till you see the 3-point percentage for teams now. Speaking of baseball, do you want to move on to baseball?
I mean, yeah, we can.
Let's move on to baseball. I think it's time for the what is it? We got to come on ref. It's the 1/16th season report ish, maybe 1/16th or so. We got to start off with Tampa Bay because I don't understand. Tampa Bay is red hot. They have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. They look like the stacked Little League team. They're beating everybody bad. Listen, they're 11-0 right now. They're probably going to go 162-0. I just think it's going to happen.
For sure.
Well, now that you said it, they're not going to.
No, they're probably now it's 11-151 for them. But that's the come on ref curse. But listen, one thing about Tampa before we get into it too much, I just want to. I read this the other night, and it was through 9 games. It's maybe not necessarily current anymore, but it still stands. Rays were the first team since 1884 to have a plus 50 run differential through 9 games. And 1884 sounds like a really long time ago, and it is. But just for reference, man, the mound was 50 feet away from the plate back then, and that was the first year that players were allowed to throw the ball overhand.
Wow.
As far as pitchers go.
Yeah.
That's how long ago that was that this has happened.
Yeah,
I mean, what is happening in Tampa?
Don't know.
I mean, like I don't have it anymore, but I saw a graphic that the Rays got rid of like half their starting pitchers, like half, like a bunch of their key players, and like you said, they're like that stacked Little League team that every year they just somehow they get the best players. Like, hey, they're cheating, they're tampering or whatever, and it's like
it's
every
unbelievable.
Year they're able to win games. It's like no matter who their players are, they're able to win 90 games and make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean with that payroll, it's the opposite of cheating. Like I don't understand. I mean, Aidan, did they have a secret? I mean, what's going on?
I don't know. If you would have told me Tampa Bay starts 11-0, I would have laughed in your face.
Oh yeah, I think everybody would have.
And I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're just hot to start the year and they cool off.
Probably
come back down to earth.
I mean,
but you never know.
Chad, I know you mentioned off stream about the the 82 Braves and the 87 Twins or whatever.
Yeah, they both started 13-0. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Twins did make the playoffs, so it's like. If the Rays don't make the playoffs, people are going to look back and say, like you said, like this was a failure of a season. Like, we started, 13-0, we made history, but
nobody's even going to remember it. I mean, the baseball season is so long, we may not even talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
It won't be like when Cleveland went on the 22-game win streak at the end of the season. I feel like that was more relevant because it was, carrying them into the playoffs. It was just more relevant.
Yeah, it was back-to-back years. They had 20-plus win streaks.
It's wild.
We're going to win the series that year in 17.
Yeah. I mean, so much for the big payroll teams in baseball, right? I mean, here you've got Cleveland with 2 of the longest winning streaks of all time. Tampa's 11-0. They're in the most expensive division in baseball, and they're dominating everyone with a $18 payroll. I mean, it absolutely blows my mind. And I guess
the modern day Moneyball.
Yeah, like we said, they're 2 wins away from the all-time record. I mean, that's a good start to the season, man. Starting 13-0. It obviously didn't work out for the Twins. We talked about that, but it's a really good start. Meanwhile, we've got the Guardians sitting here at 7-5, which isn't a bad start. I mean, it doesn't sound fantastic when you look at the Rays, at 11-0, but I'm sorry.
We're throwing out a bunch of minor leaguers, on the mound at every other game. 7-5 is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
If I have to watch Hunter Gaddis throw another inning, I think I'm gonna just hang it up.
Hunter Gaddis next start. I think I'm gonna go to the park and accidentally trip him or something on his way up the stairs. So he gets injured. We have to throw an opener. But
wow, well, now we're injuring players. I don't know, Ben.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I can't co-sign that one, but
that sounds like a guy. That sounds like a guy that would wear a Steelers hat.
That is a Pittsburgh fan. That wouldn't make sense.
That is definitely a Pittsburgh fan.
But but like I said, I trust in Tito. I trust the moves he makes. He's one of the best for a reason, and it's like I'm a big analytics guy when it comes to baseball.
Yeah.
Like the Guardians have some of the highest contact percentage in baseball, and people are like, well, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, if you're making contact, you're going to put the ball in play eventually.
For sure.
With the way we play the game, if you put the ball in play, we're going to score runs.
Yep.
It's like last year, the youngest team in baseball we were like bottom of the league in home runs, and we almost went to the ALCS.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's like you said. I mean, sometimes come October, baseball completely changes, right?
Yep.
Pitchers have less movement. The ball just has less pop off the bat. It's not going to go as far, but contact never slumps. I mean, it doesn't matter how cold it is. It may not be pleasant sometimes, putting the bat on the ball when it's 35 degrees outside and snowing or whatever, but contact doesn't slump. And when you've got a team that's really good at making consistent contact, I think we've kind of turned the tables where they're doing it so differently than everyone else in the league that I think it's kind of a problem to defend sometimes.
Like, it definitely is. Like, I watched the game a couple weeks ago where, like it was Miles Straw got up, he laid down a bunt, he was safe. Mm-hmm. His next at bat, he lays down a bunt, he was safe.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Kwan gets up, he tries to lay down a bunt. A couple batters later, Andres Jimenez tries to lay down a bunt, and like they showed the third baseman. The third baseman's just like, how do I defend this? Because like he plays in, and
right,
put it over your head, and it's like, how do we defend this?
Right. Right. There's less of a focus, I think, on defense than there used to be. Obviously, it's all about power and launch angle and how many runs you can score now. But the Guardians aren't going to be a part of that conversation, but they're not going to be a part of any conversation if they can't stay healthy, especially with the pitching. We talked about it last week. Tristan McKenzie on the 60-day injury list. I mean, that hurts. I mean, now you've got Aaron Savali on the 15-day IL, and
I don't know how much
Savali worries me too. He's got an oblique strain. Ben, we talked about it a little bit, man. Why is an oblique strain so worrisome for a baseball player? Why is that a problem?
I mean, because your oblique, it's used in just about every position, like throwing, hitting, running. It's especially as a pitcher, you're constantly, having to, give your all on every single pitch. Yeah. And even if you're not throwing, 102, that twisting, all pitching comes from your legs and your core. And if you don't have your core because your obliques hurt, you can't pitch.
Right.
But going back to, like you said, McKenzie, I don't know if you guys have watched any or have you heard any news, but McKenzie started playing catch on Monday. And, obviously, he's not going 100%, but he had no pain on Monday. They're hoping that the next couple weeks, he can throw like a simulated bullpen.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to get him back in like 4 weeks down in a rehab start. Tito said his plan is a 2-inning rehab start at Akron, and then like a 4-inning rehab start at AAA.
Yeah.
And then if he's okay, then give him like a 4-inning start in the big leagues, no matter how good he does.
Yeah, and they likely really won't know anything until, like you said, they can really stretch him out in the bullpen.
Yeah.
But the oblique worries me because in baseball, there's so much twisting and lengthening of the obliques. I mean, Aidan, have you ever strained an oblique?
I mean, yeah. But I was like younger, but you think, and you just like, and then you keep going. But like, if I was pitching or having to pitch every day, that would suck. Because then you would be stiff all the time. You wouldn't be moving well at all. So,
I mean, the obliques for baseball players are basically, I mean, they're quick twitch muscles. I mean, you're twisting and torquing all the time, and it's just such a nagging injury. I mean, it reminds me of Jackson Smith and Jigba and the hamstring. I mean, it can it can snowball on you, and I mean, it can be such a minor injury, but you can lose a whole season to it really quickly.
If you don't treat it properly, you could.
Yeah. So rest is the key. I think another key is the return of the blue man. I think you guys appreciate my.
He's big time.
I had to take his head off, so it didn't cover me up. But I thought you guys. Blue man is the MVP. I think
he always plays well.
Always. It doesn't matter if he strains an oblique. He might have a teres major. It doesn't matter. He's out there, right? Blue man's out there. Period. Go Blue man. Go Blue man. Listen, I want to move on from baseball because there's plenty of stuff going on around baseball, but it's so early. I mean, you can say, okay, a guy's hitting 380, guy's got 5 home runs, whatever. It doesn't matter right now. I don't think anything really, really matters in baseball, record-wise, stat-wise, until what about mid-May, and then you can really start to take a serious look at things. Maybe even June. So let's move on to something that just isn't even going on at all right now, but there's plenty of news. College football, man. I mean, we always like to talk about college football here, right?
No doubt.
They're going to move to a 12-team playoff for what, the 2024-25 season, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we're just going to take a look at what you need to know about it. We've talked about it ad nauseum, I think, and well, at least I have. I've been a part of the conversation in pretty much every social media group that even talks about an expanded playoff. I love it. I love the idea of an 8-team playoff. I think 12 teams is good. 16 might be fun, maybe a little too many.
I think 12 is too many, to be honest.
You think 12 is too many? Where would you would see it at 8?
8, yeah.
Okay.
Because
okay.
I mean, if you want to get into, I can get into the format really quick. It's going to be.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I just want to. What will the new format be like? I mean, what's it going to look like?
I was reading it yesterday. They're going to take the 6 highest rated Power 6 conferences champions, and those will be your top 6 seeds.
Okay.
And then the other 6 after that will be the at-large teams, the next 6 highest at-large teams.
Okay.
And then your first 4 seeds are going to get a bye in the first round. So then, you're going to have 5 versus 12,
right? 6
versus 11. And the first round games will be held, the first and second round games will be held at the higher seed stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're going to get home field advantage.
Yep.
And then quarterfinals, semifinals, and then obviously, the national championship are all going to be bowl games. They're going to rotate every year.
Yeah.
So, it's going to, give us the chance of an upset, but I feel like every year, if the team truly is the better team, you're going to see them in the quarterfinals, semifinals almost every year. There's no year that Ohio State shouldn't at least make the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Truly.
Same with Bama, same with, all those teams. They should be in it almost every year.
And boy, you think people are sick of Alabama and Ohio State now? I mean, wait until it's 21 consecutive years in the college football playoff or whatever. And people are going to be so tired of talking about these teams, but that's okay. We're not, because we're Buckeyes fans. It's fine with us. But so you said the home games in the first round, for the higher seed. What did we say for the second round? Is that where they slide into the bowl games, or where do we?
Would quarterfinal be the second round then?
Yep.
Yeah. So quarterfinals, semifinals, and the college and the national championship would all be bowl games.
All be bowl games. Okay.
So only the first round would be at home, and then you're after that it'll all be neutral sites.
Okay, so it sounds like I don't know if they're going to add any bowl games, but it sounds like maybe we'll trim the bottom off of some of these bowl games. Maybe we'll see less 6-6, 5-7 matchups. Is that what I'm hearing?
Probably, yeah. Now that there's a bigger college football playoff, because you're going to need more bowl games for the.
Yeah, I think that's good for most people. I don't have a problem with kids getting to play in a bowl game. I don't care if you go 0-12. I mean, you know how it is, man. When you're an athlete, one more game means everything to you, especially if you're a senior, graduate on your way out, whatever it is. But yeah, I think some of the bowl games get a little. I mean, you can even see the attendance. It can't be financially, positive for some of these.
Only bowl games that are big every year, like the Rose Bowl, like the Sugar Bowl, all those bowls. It's I think I did see an article saying that the Rose Bowl is not going to be one of the college football playoff bowl games, which is good. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
The Rose Bowl used to be, the bowl that everybody wanted to go to.
See, I thought they had actually gotten the Rose Bowls. I thought they signed on. That was the last thing holding it up. But I'm not sure where they're at.
If it was, what I saw is that it wasn't, but it might have been an old article. But
yeah, that's what held us up for a while. I think was the Rose Bowl was hey, we tradition. I mean, we're we're a New Year's Day bowl. That's it. We're the Rose Bowl. It's Pac-12, Big Ten. That's it.
I mean, I hope they did get the Rose Bowl, because that'd be huge for the college football playoff. I mean, who wouldn't want to go have a chance to play for a national championship, but you can win a Rose Bowl along the way? Who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah. Well, and this isn't a solution for the traditional I want the Rose Bowl people, but with an expanded field, I mean, maybe you're going to get more Pac-12, Big Ten matchups that you can slide into the Rose Bowl. I mean, maybe that's a thing that exists now. It kind of happens naturally. But anyway, all this thinking about the 12-team playoff, I think it got us thinking a little bit. We kind of reminisced. We started asking each other, what if there had been a 12-team playoff in, this year, that year, whatever. You can go all the way back from 2014 when the college football rankings started. I think it's a little silly to go back into the BCS and things like that. So we'll start at 2014 or whatever. And we all picked a season that we wanted to go with that would have been maybe would have housed some interesting first round matchups or just intriguing storylines or whatever. So Aidan, let's get to you first, man. You picked 2014. We all know that was a pretty
Yeah.
good season for Ohio State. Why'd you pick that year?
Why did I pick 2014? Mostly because Ohio State's being the fourth team was the most controversial at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know thought it was going to be TCU, and I know some Alabama people have talked about it. They thought TCU was the best team in the country that year that they watched film on.
So, hey, Sonny Dykes is still very vocal about that, by the way.
They were the hottest team in the country,
Yeah.
and playing really well. They lost like a 61-58 game to Baylor on some weird stuff where they shouldn't have
crazy
lost.
game.
Yeah.
Um,
And Baylor was 11-1 too, correct? Or
Yeah.
10-2? I
Yeah.
mean, they were, yeah.
yeah, with Petty
Yeah.
and Corey Coleman.
Yeah. Corey Coleman.
But TCU with Trevon Boykin, Jahan Dotson, sorry.
All forgiven.
Josh Doxson. And they had NFL talent there, and they were really good with a dynamic quarterback.
Mhm.
And I just think if they got into the playoff, I think they would have had a real chance to go win it. Obviously, the other teams in it, like Mississippi State with Dak, were one at one point in the season.
Yeah.
Like, I think they started one in the college football playoff ranking, the first ever
They
ranking.
did, yeah.
But
Yep.
I don't see them being that great. I think they ended up losing 2 or 3 games. So I think it would have came down to TCU, maybe, and Baylor would have been in there too. They were 5-6. So I think it all would have worked out to see who really was the best team that year. I think 4 teams probably was a little too small at the time, but it
Maybe.
worked out for us.
It did. It really did.
Who was
Yeah.
TCU's quarterback that year?
Trevon Boykin.
That is right. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember some of the recruiting classes? We were talking about Ole Miss. Some of the recruiting classes that Hugh Freeze got at Ole Miss. I mean, what?
Yeah.
NIL before NIL, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there was a good bag of NIL going on down there.
I don't know if you guys heard the story
What's
about
going on?
Tennessee before. I think I was going to start about Tennessee before NIL started, but they used to give recruits McDonald's bags, and there'd be like a bunch of cash in there, and they they'd pretty much tell the guys like, don't mention it, like just say you ate McDonald's and.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
Yeah.
you always want to give your young prospective athletes all the trans fats in the world. That makes sense.
Well,
Get them a Ruth Chris bag. I mean, come on, man. What are we doing here?
yeah, that's how
Right?
it
It's
should
the
have been.
SEC, man. This is SEC money. Go to Ruth's
Yeah.
Chris and get him a bag. Come on, Ben. So Ben, like the Steelers fan that he is, picked 2017 last night. So I made a graphic for him, and then he texted me 5 minutes before the show. He actually said on air before the show. We're not live yet. He goes, "Hey, I want to do 2018 now." So Steelers fan Ben, who made me change my graphic, you picked 2018, man. What's up with 2018?
Well, the reason why I picked 2018 is because your top 4 was Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State.
Mhm.
And the way the bracket would work out is, the 8 versus 9. The winner of 8 versus 9 would play 1.
Mhm.
And the 8 seed that year was UCF, who at the time was claiming, we're the best team in college football. We won Bama. So we would have gotten that Bama versus UCF matchup. I think that would have been electric for college football. You had Scott Frost, Mackenzie Milton, who finished 5th in the Heisman voting that year. Like UCF had some players in that squad, and I think it would have been fun to watch UCF get their shot at Alabama, and finally get their shot at proving that, hey, we belong in the national championship.
How would that game have gone, Ben? Do you think?
Well, saying that it would have been a neutral site, I don't think UCF would have won, but they would have had a better chance than if it was in Bama, because you're not. It's extremely hard to go into Alabama and beat the Crimson Tide, especially under Nick Saban. It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and listen, that's what I'm so excited for. For the 12-team playoff, I'm excited to see some of these home games. In the first round, and I know you don't have like the top 4 seeds playing, right there, but it's still going to be fun to see, man. I mean, you're going to have some. What's that?
I was like, you might get a little like Cinderella story almost.
You could, it'd be like a mini March Madness.
I mean, I just want to see like a Tulane, Michigan matchup in Ann Arbor in December or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just something totally crazy off the wall. I think that's just kind of fun. You know what I mean?
Who was the 4 and 18? Bama,
Oklahoma, Clemson, and Alabama.
Wait, Bama was in there twice?
Oh no, Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Ohio State.
Boy, there really is an SEC bias, man. If Bama's in there twice, we got to talk to somebody
that was
about
18.
It's on my phone right here. Alabama, Ohio State was ranked 4. 2018 playoffs.
Well, Ohio State played Washington in the Rose Bowl. They weren't in the playoffs that year.
Yeah, you might not be looking at the final rankings there. You might be looking at the I'm not sure because they did just miss in 2018.
And that's the year Kyler Murray won, and they played Bama in the first round. Kyler Murray won the Heisman. Yeah.
Well, you see my pick on here. I went with 2021. I thought it was interesting. I mean, the main sticking point for me was that, Ohio State, again, another year where the Buckeyes just missed, and they ended up playing, in the Rose Bowl. They played Utah, and that would have been a first-round matchup. I mean, the Buckeyes would have played Utah in that first-round playoff game, and it would have been in Columbus, would have been a little bit different weather-wise. I mean, that's one thing we said before the show, hey, it would have been the same score, would have been 48-41, but I don't know. I mean, in Columbus at the end of December, who knows what kind of weather we would have had there,
Mm-hmm. And you got to think, love to see a good. Garrett and Chris would have played in that game.
Yes.
It would have still been the playoff.
Yeah, we would have seen another game with Njigba, Olave, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, and you got to hear it all the time from Ohio State haters. People remind us all the time that Utah had 47 running backs playing defensive back in that game, or whatever they say. They were down some defensive backs for sure. I mean, that's a valid point.
2 top 5 receivers.
Well, the replacements were Emeka, Buka, and
but
Harrison.
at the time, though, we didn't know that those guys were going to be what they are today. I mean, we knew they were good, but we know they were going to be,
Yeah. I don't count anybody out in that wide receiver room now with Brian Hartline.
Yeah.
I just expect guys to come up and be the route runner that the guy before them was.
Yeah.
And by the way, you said something about that 2018 UCF team. You mentioned Scott Frost. That was interesting. He went on to Nebraska and just rose them from, the grave, I thought, back to prominence. And
right.
Didn't happen.
No.
They were really good at losing close games, though.
Yeah, they were they were very good at losing one-score games. I mean,
really
if you got a half a point or like a half a win for one-score games, they might have made the playoffs. They might have got some. They might have made some noise there.
A lot of games they were leading at halftime too, and then just one of the games ended at halftime. But they don't.
Right. Something we didn't talk about. We don't necessarily we didn't prepare for this, but thinking about like the first round home playoff games or whatever. Where are some places you want to see a playoff game happen in college football? Like, just think about some of the stadiums, some of the
definitely like Ohio Stadium, the Horseshoe. That place would be crazy.
For sure, that's number one for us. Yeah,
Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 2 of the loudest places. Georgia.
Aidan vehemently disagrees over there, man. I don't know if you can see him shaking his head.
I don't want to see Ohio State, the passing offense in December in 4-degree weather. In Ohio Stadium, I really don't need that in my life.
Stay in the top 4, right?
Yeah.
Stay in the top 4.
That just doesn't make sense for us.
They have to be Michigan to do that. But
I would say that I think you can choose where you play. So I bet they would probably play at Lucas Oil if they had a choice. But no, I don't. Like, that's the only place I don't want to see us play.
Yeah.
It won't be a fast track. It'll be cold.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Ryan Day's not calling plays anymore. So, and he's a big air raid type guy, and Brian Hartline
is a receivers coach.
He's a receivers coach, but at the same time,
we went from pass heavy to pass heavy. I don't know if we're maybe route trees change a little bit, but
Hartline's the guy. Even he said it in his conference when he got hired. He goes, "I want to set up the pass with the run." He goes, "We got away from that last year." And he goes, "We struggled with it."
Well. That's also what Ryan Day wanted to do, but when you have Marvin Harrison, Emeka, Buka, and
Julian that hurt you late in the season though, because you couldn't run the ball because, like you said, 4-degree weather against Michigan.
Yeah, did that hurt against Georgia though, or did that help us?
That game was inside.
Okay.
But
something that guys, I think Ohio State wanted to.
Michigan, you get to pick where you play. You can play in Lucas Oil Stadium. That'll be okay.
Hey, listen, guys, I think Ohio State wanted to run the football last year. The offensive line wasn't very effective at getting any kind of a push through the first 8 or 9 games.
I don't think we're ever going to be an elite running football team again. I think we have to just be who we are, which is a pass first team, and that's okay. Passing wins championships nowadays in college football. Yeah. It's not run heavy teams that do it. So
and I think you see a lot of teams use, really efficient passing to kind of supplement the running game, right? Like, quick swing passes that get, the ball into the hands of playmakers right away. There's ways that you can get around it, right? Like, you don't have to use the running game to, have what looks and feels like a running game, I guess is what I'm saying.
Also, our running backs, our best running backs, I mean, Travion Henderson broke his foot like the second game of the year, so he was never the same. So, like, it's hard to have this perfect running game when your best running back, the number one running back recruit coming out of high school, supposed to be this almighty talent, is not playing football at 100%. He's playing at like 70 because he can't cut.
Backup averaged 5 yards a carry.
Yep, he did. And Mine Williams is a good running back, but he's not explosive like Travion Henderson.
But I mean, even he was banged up, you know.
He was banged up. Dallin played decent.
Yeah.
Chip played well against Michigan.
Yeah, dude. Chip Trainum he came out of nowhere against Michigan.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it all depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have guys playing out of position. That happens, and we had a linebacker, like you said, trainer.
Kyle McCord.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle Brown.
I knew you were doing it, man. I knew you were going there. Oh man, yeah, maybe it will be. Devin McCord, Kyle Brown, some kind of hybrid guy. We'll figure it out. That's fine. That's what they mean by hybrid quarterbacks now. It's not passing and running. They literally put two guys together, clone them, and
put them together. Yeah.
Well, it's the NIL money, man. I mean, there's just all kinds of money coming into college football now. You got everything. Hey, listen, guys, I think that was a pretty good show. We're gonna get out of here for the day. Ben is still wearing a Steelers hat. That's unfortunate, but guys, look, it was a great show.
He's got something to say.
One more thing before you leave.
Oh, yeah, Ben has one thing to say. Okay, can we mute his mic or no? Is it too late to?
You mentioned NIL. I know last week, you guys touched on, the women's March Madness tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Angel Reese, she just signed like a $2.1 million NIL deal or something, like the highest ever by a female athlete. Like it's crazy that the deals that they're all getting.
Must pay to be classless or whatever Dave Portnoy said.
Man. Let him say it. Let him say it. Let him say it, man. Just keep having fun, man. Let him say it. They're gonna listen. Listen, here's what I've learned. I'm 43 years old. I'm almost 44, right? People are going to say what they're going to say no matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you try to conform to everyone, what everybody wants you to do.
No doubt.
People are still going to say what they're going to say. So you might as well just be yourself, man.
Yep.
Got no problem with it.
No
Listen,
doubt.
guys, we appreciate you being yourselves. And we appreciate you being here with us. It's another episode of Come On Ref. Ben, great job, man. Maybe next time don't wear the Steelers hat or we'll mute your mic. Aidan, great show.
Next time I'll wear my Steelers jersey instead.
Yeah.
Wear it all, man. Just come full uniform, pads, and I want to see you full pads, eye black. I want at least one ankle taped up. We got to have that, okay? All right. Hey guys, listen. Like I said, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe, share, comment. I mean, just engage with us, man. Tell us what we did wrong. Tell us what we could do better. Let us know. But thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it.